Hello aspirants, very warm welcome to you all. My name is Madhusudan Reddy and this is the Geography series in which we are going to learn the entire NCERTs in a theme-wise manner. Our today's theme is resource and development. We have already dealt with the chapters of Indian geography in a detailed manner. Now this is the next chapter or next theme in which we shall be covering up one of the basic chapters of human geography. Today's lecture is mostly will be covering up very basics, which feels like ये तो मुझे पता ही है. You will feel like I know already this particular topic. I have been studying it from class 6. But when you go into little more detail, you learn lot many new things, right? So firstly, this particular theme name is resource and development, and in this theme we are going to learn near about 7 to 8 chapters. So this we are going to learn in the perspective of the world. Likewise, you also have a resource and development theme under the theme number 13, 14 and 15. See, these themes are with respect to India. Now, whatever we are going to learn in these particular themes, especially the theme of theme number 11, that is resource and development 1, here we'll try to focus on the basics. Once we have learned the basics, in the next chapter, that is resource and development 2, in this, we are going to apply all the concepts that we have learned. Furthermore, when we go to India, the same topics will also be repeated, but with respect to Indian context. For example, we'll be studying about politics, or we'll be studying about population, we'll be studying about resources. Now here, the fundamental definitions that are required to have a basic understanding, those things we'll be learning here. But when we go to the Indian geography, we'll apply with respect to India. Here we are going to learn the basics now. So this particular lecture is going to be very easy. So if you do have any doubts, you can always get in touch with me. Okay, the chapters that we are going to deal here are number 1. It is class 8 and class 12. These are the two books that we are choosing. In the class 8, I want you to read chapter number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is 5 chapters, chapter number 1 to 5. These are very basics. In this, firstly, you'll get an understanding what is a resource, right? What are the different types of resources? Is land a resource? Water a resource? Is conventional resources, non-conventional resources, energies? So fundamental basics of the definitions are given here. Second, land, soil, water, natural vegetation and wildlife resources. So here we have learned what is a resource. We are going to apply and certain definitions such as what is arable land, what is non-arable land, like that. Then come to chapter number 3. It talks about minerals and power resources. Minerals and power resources are nothing but here you need to learn about the power resources, those resources which are used for the energy production, right? I'll teach you here. Now coming to the chapter number 4, here you learn about definitions. And chapter number 5, basics of industries, right? This is what you're going to learn, and these are very easy chapters in my opinion. If you're sitting back, you should complete them in just a matter of 2 to 3 hours, even if you're reading all these 5 chapters, right? Even if you're reading for the first time as well. Very easy chapters. Next, come to class number 12. Here, you need to know the world population, population composition and human development, right? These are the various aspects that we are going to deal in the today's class. Right. So even in class 12 also, fundamentally you learn about the definitions. More often we'll be looking into the basics itself. For example, world population is there. We will be looking into the spread of the world population. What are the factors that are responsible for the distribution of the population? So here, first let me show you what are we going to learn. Let me show you the names of the chapters as well. One by one we'll be looking into. Come to class number 8, chapter number 1. This says what is a resource. Right? It says what is a resource. Can you tell me what is a resource and how is it different from a mineral? Is mineral a resource? Yes. But what is a mineral? Mineral, we have already learned in the previous classes that minerals are nothing but collection of elements. If collection of minerals are there, then we have called it as a rock. A rock is a collection of minerals. A mineral can be a collection of elements or a single element. And a mineral is something which has a value. And if that value, if you are utilizing it for the human applications or you are generating some revenue out of it, now that is a resource. I know you might not get it, whatever I've said it, but let me quickly show you what exactly is a resource. See, a resource is anything and everything that has a value. Anything and everything that has a value. Like today, if you look into that, any substance that has value means it should have worth. This worth can be in terms of currency, or it can be perceived worth as well. It can be perceived worth, right? That can also be a value. Likewise, for example, metals may have an economic value, but a beautiful landscape may not. You see, a metal may have an economic value, but a beautiful landscape may not have a value. But today it may not have a value, but for tomorrow it could be a tourism. So something which has a value, you will call it as a resource, and if that is utilized for the human being, right? So look here, some resources can be economically valuable with time. Our grandmother's home remedies have no commercial value today, but if they are patented and sold by a commercial firm, that becomes a resource. For example, there are many companies, what they did was, turmeric that you use in your homes, that has been patented by a US company. टर्मरिक इज एन एंटीबायोटिक, इट्स ए नेचुरल एंटीबायोटिक. जैसे बचपन में आपको चोट लगा तो तुरंत ही दादी माँ और योर ग्रैंड मदर व्हाट शी यूज्ड टू डू इज चाय पत्ती और एंड शी ऑल्सो टेक्स लिटिल टर्मरिक एंड पुट to your wound, right? Actually, it's an antibiotic. So there are companies in USA, what they have done is they have patented it and they started selling it. That means that material you have used, it has a value. If you have utilized that value, if you have tapped the potential of that value, that becomes a resource, right? Now these resources can be something which you can see, something which you can touch, something which you can feel, or something which you cannot. For example, a dancer is there. A dancer, if you take the dancer onto the stage and start to buy tickets in the name of that dancer for his or her performance, now that particular person can be a human resource, right? If a dancer, he only dances for his own will and do not care about the generation of revenue. Now see, there is a potential in the dancer to extract the revenue, but potentials ko we only see it as perceived, right? We only see it as perceived. Now in totality, what I am supposed to tell you is, what is a resource? A resource is anything that has a value and it can be extracted. That value can be extracted, right? So this is what is a resource. Broadly, if you look into, there are different types of resources. Okay? There are different types of resources. Now these different types of resources you can understand on the basis of divisions. There can be many divisions that can be done. There are many divisions you can do. These divisions can be based on one. It can be based on the origin. It can be based on the development. It can be based on renewability. It can also be based on other aspects as well, such as distribution, ownership, right? So on these basis, how these are divided, let us quickly look into the content, right? And if you do have any questions, you can also drop a message on 7382552230. I'll be very happy to address all your doubts as well. Okay, now come back here. Firstly, let us try to understand what exactly your chapter of this particular chapter tells you. See here, it talks about what is a resource and anything that has a value. It also talks about types of resources. What are the different types of resources that you have? Right. So let's see, there can be renewable, non-renewable, and these types of resources are based on many parameters. What are those parameters? I'll be telling you in the 5 to 10 minutes. Now, how to conserve these resources, something that is talked in this particular chapter, right? Very small chapter, but it has a lot of applications. Now come back and see here. In this particular chapter, you need to know that a resource is something which has a value, and you can extract that value, be it in economic terms or non-economic terms. Maybe a beautiful landscape can also be a resource, that is natural resource. And in yesterday's class also I told you the resources can be of various forms. Okay? Your resources can be of various forms, such as one that is natural and human, right? An employee can be your human resource. Natural resources can be renewable and non-renewable. ये तो हर बच्चे को जानते हैं, but your renewable resources, they can be continuous, and one, it can be biological. Now what are continuous resources? Continuous or flow, it is because, see, these continuous resources are none other than those resources which you can call them as the continuous availability, such as wind is there, solar is there. Even on the earth, maybe half of the day you may not see the sunlight, but half of the day you will see the sunlight, but other half of the day at one or the other position on the earth there is light, right? So resources can be continuous, such as water can be continuous, wind can be continuous, sunlight can also be continuous, right? Go to polar region, it is a continuous resource there. Whereas biological resource, here you have natural vegetation, you can also have wildlife. Likewise, you come to the human resources, here structures and institutions quality and quantity terms में आपको measure किया जा सकता है, right? Non-renewable resources are recyclable and non-recyclable, and this is how the distribution of resources has been done, right? We'll look into little more detail about the distribution of resources, but classification of resources let's try to do. And what are the different types of resources that you need to know? Your resources can be divided on the basis of origin. देखो, on the basis of origin you can divide the resources into biotic and abiotic. Can I say that this resource can be biotic and abiotic? Biotic means a tree can be your biotic resource, right? Just a minute. Look here, a tree can be a biotic resource. This is based on the origin. Water, clouds, these can be your abiotic origins. On the basis of development, you see, on the basis of development, a resource can be actual or potential. Okay? I said perceived energy is always potential energy, right? For example, I told you a dancer, you take the dancer onto the stage and sell the tickets in the name of the dancer, you're generating economy out of it, right? That is actual. For example, if there is potential in that dancer, that is called as potential human resource, right? You can, maybe a kid who is there, you are investing on the kid, that this kid later on after 10 years is going to do X and Y things, from that you are going to generate revenue. That is called potential, right? So likewise, based on the development, actual resource, for example, coal is an actual resource, right? Coal is an actual resource. Whereas if you look into the potential resources, wind, right? Okay. Now come to based on the renewability. See, based on the renewability, it is one is renewable, other is non-renewable. When it comes to renewable and non-renewable, it is like this. Just a minute, let me show it to you. See, renewable and non-renewable energy. Renewable energies, they can be recyclable and non-recyclable. Recyclable are those which are metals, can be recycled, right? Whereas non-renewable are the fossil fuels, right? Here recyclability and renewability are two different things, right? Recyclability and renewability are not the same. For example, recyclable minerals are nothing but something which you can use it in a continuous manner. You can cycle it. Whereas non-renewable, they are also called as fossil fuels. If you use it, you cannot get back again, right? Example, coal is there, petroleum is there, right? These are some of the examples. Now come back, based on the ownership. See, based on your ownership, you can also divide the resource into number one, individual, community. It can be one single individual, it can be group of people, that is your community. For example, a lake is there. Here this can be a lake. This lake is owned by community. Whereas if you take individual, a house, your house could be an individual resource. Whereas as a nation, you can take a river. A river can be a best example for a nation. Likewise, international, it is the polar region. You see, this polar region is owned by everyone, North Pole and South Pole. This is called as global commons, such as seas which are there. Any sea which is more than, if you go 200 nautical miles away from the continental area, that is called high sea. High sea belongs to everyone. That is called as an international resource, right? This is how you are supposed to look into the distribution and classification of resources. So your entire class number 8 chapter deals with this particular definitions, right? So here, let me ask you that your natural resources, here you can further divide them into, the resources can be divided into, number 1, natural resources, man-made resources, and human resources as well, right? Now on what basis are we dividing? You can also divide them on various other bases, right? That is natural resources, man-made resources, and human-made resources. Natural resources, something which is available in the form of, the forest is a natural resource, right? And man-made resources, here an industry is a man-made resource, right? Road is a man-made resource. Likewise, human resources are your schools, right? Even the brain that you have, this is also a human resource. Likewise, a dancer's dancing capabilities are human resources, or your office people's, their skills, that are human resources, right? So in a nutshell, the resource classification can be done on multiple bases, right? I'm telling they can be done on multiple bases. Broadly, for the examination point of view, you need to know these 5 major classifications. That number 1, it is based on the origin, biotic and abiotic. Whenever you're writing environment answers, this is how you look. Next, on the basis of development, it is perceived and potential kitna hai and actual kitna hai. For example, we are looking into the wind energy. Wind energy का potential कितना हो सकता है? What could be the potential of wind energy? What could be the potential of solar energy? Now, based on these potentials, we would like to invest in the further time period. Likewise, you come to the actual is कितना है? For example, in the recent times, we have went and searched in Kashmir, and we got to learn that in the Kashmir, there is lithium that we got. But we do not know how much amount of lithium is present there. That is called as inferred. Inferred in the sense, we do not know how much amount is there. We have found evidences that वहाँ पे lithium है, there is lithium there, but we do not know how much quantity it is present. That means we call that kind of resources as inferred resources, right? When you do not have clarity on how much percentage it is there, what is the value, how many tons or how many kilos it is there, it is called as inferred resources. Likewise, potential is something which you see for the future, right? Last, based on renewability, renewable, non-renewable, or recyclable and non-recyclable, right? Next is on the distribution. This distribution is also based on locality, that is a resource can be present universal, such as sunlight is universal, whereas localized is maybe in your locality you might find red sanders. That red sanders is a local resource, right? So local resources usually have larger value, right? A local resource has larger value, a universal resource has lesser value. Likewise, based on ownership, individual, community, national, international, public-private partnership or resource, or else an government-owned resource. In this manner, you can classify your own resources. This is just a single chapter which I have put it into one single slide. This is what you need to know. And finally, what is a resource? A resource is anything that has a value, right? And that value you can extract in the form of economy or in the form of tangible or non-tangible entities, right? This is what is your resource. Now come to the next component, that is our next chapter. In this particular chapter, it is talking about, just a minute. See here, land, soil, water, natural vegetation and wildlife. See, it talks about what is land, how does the land is being used, right? Change in the land use over a period of time. Likewise, conservation of land resource, कैसे land को conserve किया जा सकता है. Some basics and factors of soil formation, this particular chapter we have already looked into, right? So they are seeing land as a resource, right? And to protect this land, what are the measures that you need to take? These are the measures that you are supposed to take to protect a land, right? Okay. Along with that, water also here in this chapter it is given, right? Broadly, what we'll look into is what are the ways and means in which we can protect the land. That is what you need to look into, and these rest of the content that is there, we have already looked in the Indian geography itself. But now come to the fundamental entities, that is how the soil is conserved, right? The conservation mechanisms of the soil, this is what you need to know. See, there are many ways through which you can conserve the soil. There are many ways through which you can reserve the soil as well. This particular chapter majorly focuses on the soil conservation mechanisms, but when you read it, you may not understand. I'm very sure about it. Because there are certain practices that are given here. Now, these practices are the soil conservation mechanism. It is number one, soil is a resource and we have to protect it, right? Soil conservation mechanism, first one is mulching. What do you mean by mulching? Mulching means if you take the land, right? Let's take your cropland. In the cropland, what do you do is wherever you have planted a crop, let's say this is your land, right? Imagine this is your land. In this land, you wanted to crop in this area. This is your crop area. So you're cropping your plants. So wherever you're cropping your land, what are you supposed to do is next to that, you mulch it. Mulch it is nothing but fill the organic material in the soil next to your crops. You fill with the organic material next to your crops, right? This is called as mulching. Any organic material, matlab patte vatte dalo, ya you put something in between the crop area. So why are you doing it? You are doing it is because, see, soil conservation is one of the most important tasks that you are supposed to do, because land is a natural resource, and it says that how to conserve this land. Number one, the first way is when you are cultivating crops, there is some good techniques by the name of mulching. Mulching says that the bare ground between plants is covered with layers of organic matter like straw. It helps to retain soil moisture. For example, you have planted a plant here and you have planted a plant here. In between this particular area, you are asked to fill with organic matter. What is this organic matter? Like straw. Straw matlab you fasal kaatte ho, or else you cut down the agriculture such as rice or wheat. Whatever the crop residue that you get, you put that crop residue between these two crops, right? Like that. So to make it little more simpler, let me draw it. How is it done? See, imagine this is a series of crops that you have grown, right? In this series of crops that you have grown, now next to that you are supposed to put in this area you put the residue of the previous agricultural crop straw. Just put it like this. Now this is your residual agricultural straw. In this, for example, if there is good amount of sunlight that is there, right? Look here, this part of the area to my right, this part of the area is a mulched soil, and this part of the area is not a mulched soil. See, when you are not having a mulched soil, what happens is that here, what are the leaf litter that you have thrown? All the leaf litter that you have thrown. Firstly, when the harsh sun rays that are going to come, they will not let that very hot and scorching light to reach the soil. And you know soil has moisture, and that moisture will be there as it is. Likewise, if there is any weeds that are present here, as the availability of sunlight is not given to the weeds in the sense the unwanted crop seeds, so they will not come above the surface, right? Now this is the advantage of the mulching. As an organic mulch breaks down, it releases nutrients. That means it is the same crop residue, it will also give nutrients to you, right? Likewise, you go to an area where you did not mulch. When you are not mulching the cropland, what happens is that sunlight directly comes and it will heat the ground. Whatever the soil moisture is there, that will evaporate. And likewise, If weeds are there, weeds are nothing but unwanted crop seeds, or they'll start to grow like grasses and all. Now grasses will start to penetrate their roots. They will also take the moisture and your weed will also grow. Finally, what happens is that your tree which is there, it will get less nutrition, and the chances of whenever there is heavy rain, the soil get eroded. So soil conservation, it does not mean that keeping the soil intact. No. You will also, soil conservation also means that you are supposed to keep the soil fertility intact. That is also called as soil conservation, right? Now, did you understand by the term of mulching? Look here, this is what is your mulching. In the mulching, you're going to put the straw or paddy straw, whatever the straw it is. So here you will not get to see the growth of weeds. But on the other side, look here, this part of the area, the moisture is gone. So even if you're keeping the soil moisture intact, that is also called as mulching. Now come to the next component. The second way of conserving the soil is terrace farming. ये तो सबको पता है, terrace farming, contour bunding, right? But what exactly is contour bunds? Contour bunds means you're going to create a stepped like pattern like this. You're going to create a stepped like pattern. If this is a mountain, on this mountain, what do is you create steps, right? This was the earlier mountain, but now you have created steps. In this, you will create steps based on the equal height. For example, at equal height, you are going to make this area flat, right? This is called as contour bunding. Contours means when you start to map the places of equal height, and as per the height, you are going to contour it. Contour in the sense, as per the height, at equal heights, you are going to cut down and make some trenches. That means you have created a trench here, you have created a trench here, you have created a trench here. All these trenches are nothing but maybe this is 600 meters above the sea level. This is also 600, this is also 600. You will identify all the 600 meters above the sea level, and then you will make a trench. Trench is, this is called a trench, right? The place where you are going to dig. Now, what are the advantages of this? The advantages of this is that, for example, any water that is moving, they will first store here. After that, the required water will be stored here. Likewise, the water gets conserved and the soil gets conserved. As per the requirement, they keep on releasing the water. Now, this is called as contour barriers. Stones, grass, soils are used to build barriers along the contours. Trenches are made in front of the barriers to collect water. Now these trenches are nothing but यहाँ पे पत्थर वत्थर रखोगे and you'll store the water. This is one of the examples, right? Okay. Come to the next one, rock dam. See, rock dam is also a form where you are going to use patthar, that is rocks, and in order to not to erode the soil, you put these rocks and create some check dams. Look at this. This is a small check dam. Rocks are piled up here. So any soil that is there, that will be saved here. So usually in swampy and marshy areas, you will do this kind of activity. This is also prevents the soil erosion. Likewise, you please look here. This farmer, what he has done is, all the rocks were put as a dam. Okay? This is called as rock dam, so that the soil will not erode any further, right? So these are some gullies matlab chote erosions. To prevent these erosions, you are also going to put it, right? The next component of your soil conservation mechanisms are, it can be your terrace farming. Terrace farming matlab, dekho, in this particular area, it is nothing but the same, whatever you do it in the form of terrace. This is also called as contour barriers. You are going to put the barriers here in the form of rocks, any other substances. But terrace farming is, you farm over a plain area, even in the mountains, by converting the mountain into a terrace like this. Same thing. The difference between contour bunding and terrace farming, let me tell you. See here, if this is a mountain, you have converted this mountain into like this. I'm going to tell you the difference between right. Now this is your mountain. This mountain you have converted into this, and you started to do agriculture. The agriculture is 1. If you're farming here in this area, this is called as terrace farming, right? This is called as terrace farming. But what do you mean by contour bunding? Contour bunding means you are going to conserve the soil by placing some rocks here. You'll put some rocks, you'll put some rocks, you'll put some rocks here. So this is called as contour bunding, right? That means you're going to put rocks here, you're going to put rocks all over, you're going to put, so this is called as contour bunds. In the contour bunds, you're going to cover the entire mountain roundabout and put some rocks or heavy objects so that the soil which is moving from the top layer will not move to the bottom. What is terrace farming? You made steps. This is one step, second step, right? Basically, they are used for interchanging words, right? You create a mountain into a flat surface and then do agriculture. Come to intercropping. Intercropping matlab basically you're going to grow more than one crop in an alternative manner. For example, this is your farmland and this is the month of June, right? In the month of June, what do you do is you'll go for here, you might be growing X crop, and in this another row you'll grow another crop, right? Clear? Here the choice of crops, you'll choose two different crops. This is two different crops. For example, you can go for a mango plantation. Let's see. Let's say in the mountainous regions, what do? Is they go for, this is your cherry, right? And here you might do some vegetables growth here, or else here at times what do? Is just a minute. Here, look at this. In the Kashmir regions, this is your apple. This is also your apple tree, and in between you will grow corn. This is corn. This is called as the intercropping, right? Now contour ploughing is also an alternative word which is used for that. Now the next soil conservation mechanism is shelter belts. What is shelter belts? See, in the shelter belts you will be choosing your cropland. Just a minute. In the shelter belts you will choose your cropland, and in the cropland you will, across the boundary of the cropland, you will be planting trees. Suppose this is your cropland, right? Let's say you grow small crops here, and you know this particular area has so much of wind every year. Let's say these crops every year they are exposed to the wind, and because of this wind you are going to lose these crops, along with the crops some soil also, right? Now this is a plain area. Likewise, if you are going for a mountainous area, let's say this is mountainous area. On the mountain, what you have done is you have created the contour bunds, and here you are planning to do agriculture like this, right? And you have learned that every year there is so much of wind that is coming downward, and in the due process these winds are also shaking the crops and they are letting the crops failure, right? This could be there, right? Even the winds can move in this direction. This is one, and the winds can come in this direction and it can erode the soil if the soil is dry. So in order to beat this wind, what do? Is you simply choose the big trees around your crops to protect your farm field from this harmful winds. This is called as shelter bunds. Here also you are going to plant trees. Okay, you plant trees like this, not just one, a series of trees, and you are going to grow the crops here. This is your crops. So the winds which are there, they are going to protect. The trees are they going to protect your winds, right? This is the role of the shelter bunds, right? So these winds, they'll protect, the winds are protected by, the crops are protected by the winds, right? Dekha? Okay, see here. This is how it is done. So in simple terms, look here. This is one of the finest examples that you can look into the conservations of the soil, that is shelter burns, right? This is the only important topic that is there in your chapters. Apart from that, nothing else you need to know, right? ये definitions जानना चाहिए क्योंकि these are sometimes directly asked in the exam as the questions that are what are the modern day techniques, alternative solutions for the soil conservation. You know that soil conservation is very, very important. The area of cultivable land in India is continuously coming down. Now land as a resource, if you look into land as a resource over a period of time, has become a very lucrative entity, right? ठीक है, especially when it comes to the tropical areas, the per square kilometer output of crop in India is very high. When you go to Singapore, it is very less. I'll tell you while dealing with the population chapters in detail. So this is what you need to know, right? I hope you got what are shelter belts now to protect from the winds. Like this, these are your shelter belts, right? Now, majorly, this is what you are supposed to know in this chapter, right? Look here. This is an example of a shelter belt. Trees, again a series of crops. Then there are some trees, a series of crops. Trees, series of crops. Look here, sometimes there are plantations of various height will be done in order to protect the soil, moisture and the soil plus crops as well. Right? Wildfires को control करने के लिए भी it is done. Right? Okay. Now come to our next chapter. Apart from this, there is nothing much in this chapter. So here, okay. Look here. The next chapter that you are supposed to read is class 8, chapter number 3, that is your minerals. Right? This is one chapter which has some value. Okay? Likewise, you will also have a good amount of value in the case of agricultural chapter as well. We'll be looking into in a detailed manner in this chapter, right? Okay, I think this particular PDF is not reacting. 1 minute. Let me open it for you. Just give me a minute. Look here. This is the chapter. Let me show you what exactly is given in this particular chapter. See here. First, they'll tell you what are minerals and resources. This we have already dealt in very detail and in the rocks chapter. Firstly, what is a mineral? A mineral is nothing but a collection of elements. But here it says that a mineral is a naturally occurring substance, something which occurs naturally, and this has definite properties. What are these properties? These properties can be your chemical properties and physical properties, right? A mineral always has a value, right? So a naturally occurring substance that has a definite chemical composition is a mineral. Now they say what are the different types of minerals? Likewise, extraction of minerals कैसे किया जाएगा? Right? Distribution of minerals कहाँ पर है? मतलब दुनिया में कहाँ पर कौन सा mineral है? So let's quickly look into this particular chapter. See here. Firstly, you need to know what are minerals, right? See, mineral, as you already know, mineral is a naturally occurring substance and that has some value. And also it has a definite physical properties भी होता है और chemical properties भी होता है, right? This is nothing but your mineral. At times, a mineral can have one or more elements. A mineral can itself be one single element mineral, and collection of these minerals are rocks. Firstly, how are minerals classified? Minerals can be classified into one, metallic, and the second one is non-metallic. Metallic minerals are further classified into one, it is ferrous and non-ferrous. Ferrous means जहाँ पर iron component is present. Non-ferrous means where iron is absent. Ferromagnetic substances they are called as. Ferromagnetic substances are manganese, iron. Iron itself is ferromagnetic substance. Manganese, nickel. ठीक है. Likewise, cobalt. If you get a magnet, they'll show some properties. But come to the other side, you look into bauxite. Bauxite is a non-ferrous material. Likewise, copper, lead, tin. These are the substances that are non-ferrous in nature. Whereas precious materials which are also metallic, which are there, that is your gold, silver, platinum. They are available in placer deposits. They are in the form of placer deposits or placer minerals bhi kaha jata hai ise, right? They are also called as placer minerals. Now come to non-metallic. Non-metallic can be further divided into number 1, that is 1 naturally occurring non-metallic substances, as well as you will also see those materials which are present in the underground as fossils and non-fossils. Can I say these are fossils, non-fossils to an extent, right? Non-fossils, or I can also call as other non-metallic minerals, right? One is mica, salt, potash, sulfur, graphite, limestone. Any other components? Other than that, you'll also see marble. Granite marble is also non-metallic mineral, and sandstone. This is a sedimentary rock which we have already seen. These are some of the non-metallic minerals, right? When it comes to the fossil fuels which are non-metallic, that are also called as energy minerals, coal is a sedimentary rock, natural gas, petroleum, gasoline, these are the components, right? This is how the classification is there. But firstly, where are these minerals found and how are they extracted? What are the extraction mechanisms of these minerals? See, the extraction mechanisms are you drill, sometimes you also mine, you open cast, you shaft, right? But before that, first let's look into the uses of the minerals. The uses of the minerals, they can be used in the construction such as iron, steel, construction and infrastructural development which is there, you can use there. Number 2, they are the building blocks of the society also. Industries may be used kiya jata hai, they are also used as a fuel. Likewise, in the manufacturing of the defense sector, they can be used. In the field of communication, like semiconductors, they are also used, telephones. You name an entity in the modern time period, without minerals, nothing can be done, right? Even to explore the sea, to go into the space, you require these. They are used everywhere, right? Kuch bhi point likho chal jayega in this particular entity, but let's try to understand where exactly are these minerals present. See, these minerals, I'm going beyond NCERT and I'm trying to teach you here, because I think whatever the content that is there in the NCERT, it is not sufficient for you to understand, right? Firstly, let me show you how the minerals are present and where exactly are they present. Many of the times the minerals are present in the form of ore. Now, what is an ore? Ore is nothing but a substance. It is an accumulation of mineral. For example, a mineral can also be present in a rock like this. The red color dots are your minerals, plus, and the black color dots which I am going to put, these are your impurities. That means a mineral plus impurities, this is called as a ore. Mineral mixed with other elements, that is impurities, it is called as an ore. Many of the times the minerals are present in different ores. Okay, different ore. For example, let's take iron. Iron ore, it can be hematite. Let's say this is hematite. This imagine a hematite ore is there. In the hematite ore, you'll have impurities, and in this you will also have iron. The impurities are of, let's say, X element. These impurities are of X element. Likewise, you also have magnetite. In the magnetite, the iron concentration can be little less. Okay, red color dots, again I am putting them as iron. Instead of this black color, I'll put some other impurities here, right? That means this is also a hematite ore, or this is an ore of iron. Likewise, magnetite can also be an ore with different impurities, right? With different impurities, your ore will be present. In different concentrations, it will be present. That is called as an ore, right? But where exactly are they present, all these minerals? Sometimes they can be present in a rock. Sometimes they can be present in the form of a vein. Look here, the image that you see next to me, this is an example of copper. This copper is present in the form of lodes. Minerals are present in the form of veins and lodes. Lodes means जिसका size थोड़ा बड़ा होता है. Now this is a rock. This is a rock, right? In this rock, look at copper. Copper is present in good amount of concentrations, that is large amount of concentrations. If it is present in good large amounts, these are called as lodes. The same mineral can also be present in cracks and veins. Veins matlab nerves jaisa, that is like this. Look here, some minerals can be present in the form of veins like a nerve. This is where the gold is present. So if the mineral is present like this, we'll call it as a vein. This is a gold veins. And likewise cracks mein, crevasses mein, minerals are present. Minerals are also present in the form of beds and layers. Beds and layers matlab, see, beds or layers are nothing but as a layer or as a bed. You take the earth crust, look at this particular area, look at this. This top layer is little dark in color and the bottom layer is little light in color. This light color component is called as a bed. That means if you are extracting, you have to extract this layer. Maybe I can dig a hole here. I can dig a hole. From this I'll send people and they'll start to mine this. Right? So people will go and do mining there. This can also be possible. Right? So minerals can also be formed in the form of beds and layers. So this is a coal bed. Look here. This is coal bed. Now let me show you bauxite. This is bauxite. Right? At times, the minerals are also formed as a decomposed rock. Decomposed rock due to weathering particles. Imagine कोई ऐसा organic material है जो decompose हुआ तो sometimes it will become a rock and that rock you take it out as sedimentary rock, you have taken it as a coal. Coal is a sedimentary rock, right? वो तो decompose होकर ही बना ना. Paid or animals that they might have turned themselves into rocks, right? Sedimentary rock. Likewise, residual mass of the weathered particles. If you have a weathered particles, maybe X rock that is weathered and it is decomposed, then also you'll get a mineral. The best example for weathered rock mineral is your bauxite. Bauxite is a residual mass of a weathered mineral or decomposed mineral. Decomposed rock, not mineral, sorry, decomposed rock. Right? So this is your bauxite. Do you know bauxite is a ore of? Bauxite is itself a ore, you know. That means if you take this rock, this is your bauxite. Let's say it is bauxite. Bauxite will have two things. One, these are the impurities. And in this, along with that, you can also find aluminium. This green color component is aluminium. Bauxite is an ore for aluminium. So this bauxite rock, how is it formed? Decomposed rocks are washed away by water. The soluble particles are removed, leaving a mass containing ore. Such occurrences are called as residual mass. In simple terms, imagine this is a river. So there are some rocks, these rocks which are decomposed, right? They can be carried by this river. Sometimes the minerals which are present in this, they will get dissolved, right? And later on, the pure part of that particular weathered rocks or decomposed rocks will be deposited here. And after few thousands of years, this river is no longer present here. Now you will start to go and mine this part of the area. This is your bauxite, right? See, sometimes it can be a river. If not, it can be rain also. Instead of this river, a rain might have done the job of a river, or else floods might have done the job of the river. It could be anything. The exogenetic processes will do the job. So this is how you'll get to see the bauxite. And you'll also see the minerals in the form of alluvial deposits. Alluvial deposits or placer deposits. Placer deposits मतलब source कहीं और होता है and the materials get deposited elsewhere. For example, what are these placer deposits? Placer deposits are nothing but, let's say this is a rock. In this rock, this part of the area is having gold, right? And let's imagine this particular rock is found in Himalayas. Let's say this is your, and you should also learn to draw India map in just a matter of 7 to 8 seconds or 10 seconds के अंदर draw करना है. You have to learn to draw this as well. In the exam, maximum of 12 to 15 seconds you have to draw. It should just look like a map of India, right? So in Himalayas, just imagine, I'm only asking you to imagine, वहाँ पे है नहीं है वैसे. Imagine this is a rock, and in this rock you got to see certain placers or certain deposits of mineral. Now over a period of time, let's say there is Ganga river. This Ganga river flows like this. Now Ganga river, what did it do? It has bought this particular rock, and this over a period of time this rock got soluble, and the minerals which were there in this particular rock, they are also carried by the river and they got deposited elsewhere, right? What is the source of this material? What is the source of this mineral? The source of the mineral was here, but it was carried by the river and deposited here. So these finer deposits which are there, they are called as placer deposits. These finer deposits which are there, they are called as placer deposits. ठीक है? These placer deposits are very small finer particles which are found. The source rock is somewhere else. The source of this particular mineral is somewhere else, but they are found elsewhere. So such a kind of minerals are called as placer deposit minerals, which are found in the form of tiny and deposited materials or minerals, right? Now come back. You see, this is rock gold. Malab, this rock gold might be at X source, and river might have disintegrated this rock, and later that materials were deposited elsewhere, right? Source kahin aur hai or material kahin aur mila, right? So in these conditions, these are your placer deposits. Your minerals can also be present in the form of placer deposits, right? Likewise, you see, there are many other aspects where these mines and minerals are present, but let me first take you to the chapter again. In this particular chapter, you will also talk about the minerals. Now this particular chapter talks about distribution of mineral oil, coal, likewise iron, uses of these minerals in detail. So one such mineral that is there we have to look into, that is your iron. Iron, they have talked about the distribution of minerals in detail. So first thing, we need to look into the iron, copper and bauxite. Where do you find this iron, copper and bauxite? Let's see. See, majority of this iron, copper and bauxite in India are found in Chota Nagpur Plateau. Chota Nagpur Plateau, which is present in the borders of Odisha, Jharkhand and some parts of the West Bengal as well, right? Northern part of Chhattisgarh as well. So this is your Chota Nagpur Plateau. This is where you get majority of these minerals in India, right? Likewise, you see in Africa, western part of Africa, in USA around this Great Salt Lakes. Likewise, in South America, you'll get in the northern part and in the Brazil and in the west, that is Chile, Peru region. So likewise, there are only few areas where you will get these heavy minerals. If you have this iron, it helps in infrastructure. If you have bauxite, it will help you in generation of electricity and transmission of electricity, because bauxite is the ore of aluminium. Aluminium can be used for transfer of electricity. So this is how you will be utilizing this particular entities, right? So first let's try to look into the minerals such as iron. Now iron ore which is there, it is present in various forms. Look here, your iron ore can be present in various forms. What are these various forms? I am talking about ore. Now let's imagine this is an ore. Ore has what? Ore has impurities. Imagine the red color components are impurities, and then let's say this black color components are your iron. Now they can be present in the form of a vein, they can be present in the form of a load, they can be present in the form of a bed, whatever it is. Let's keep it aside. You have learned where the minerals are present. They can be present in the form of veins, loads, alluvial, placer deposits, beds, layers, like that. Now let's say this is your magnetite. In the magnetite ore, you will have 72%. That means this black component, it is 72% of the iron is present, and rest of this 28% is there. This is your impurities, right? This is your impurities, right? When you take hematite, hematite has the same rock. In this 70% of the iron can be seen. Likewise, you take limonite. In this only the brown to yellow, which has only 50% of the iron, right? And you go to siderite, it only has 30%. Now there are many materials, many ores which are having less than 30%. If you have less than 30% of iron ore in a particular rock or in a particular ore, that is not called to be industry grade iron ore, right? So here there are, if the iron content is less than 30% in an ore, it is considered to be uneconomical. क्योंकि जो आप खर्चा करते हो, whatever the cost that you are putting in to extract that particular mineral, the cost of extraction is more than the cost of utilization. So that's why if you're having less than 30%, you are not going to utilize it, right? This is what is all about your iron ore, right? Iron ore is the basic mineral and the background of the industrial development of the world. No doubt, iron ore is the most widely distributed element of the earth crust, and it is rarely occurs in free state. It is always occurring in the form of ores. These ores are four. Number one, it is magnetite, hematite, siderite, and limonite. Highest amount of iron ore is present in the magnetite. And where do you find this magnetite in India? The highest amount of magnetite mineral is present, or magnetite ore is present in which state? Which state? Karnataka. Okay? Largest reserves are there in Karnataka, right? And hematite, it is present in the Chota Nagpur plateau, right? Now come to which country has the highest amount of reserves? It is Australia. See, the top 5 countries, these top 5 countries, they contribute to 85% of the total ore. Is India there in this? Yes. India is the 4th largest producer of iron. We also export iron. Do you know? We export iron from Visakhapatnam to Japan, right? So what are the 4 topmost producers? Number 1, first one is Australia. Look here, this is your Australia. Next is China. Third one is Brazil. Fourth one is India, and the 5th one is Russia. But look at the gap between the share percentage. अगर देखा जाए, सबसे दुनिया का highest percentage is in Australia, that is 33.7%. Next is China, which is 21. Brazil is 17, but India, you look, the production of India is only 8% of the total world. But the top 3 countries, देखो, top 3 countries, 33, 21, almost 54. Again, add 72 to it, right? Near about almost 70+% of the concentration of the iron is present with these 3 countries: Australia, China, and Brazil. This is called as ABC countries. A, B, C. Australia, Brazil, and China. ये जो ABC countries है, they own 70% of the total iron of the world, right? 70% of the total iron. Look at India's share, it is only 8%, very minimal, right? Come. What are the major fields that you need to know? ये सब NCERT में नहीं है, but I am giving you so that, क्योंकि ये जो टॉपिक है ना, आगे भी हम पढ़ने वाला है इन डिटेल मैनर में, बट दिस इज जस्ट एन इंट्रोडक्शन. इन इंडिया, छत्तीसगढ़ रीजन you need to know. Second one, Odisha, Chitradurg, and Mayurbhanj in Odisha again. right? Kudremikh in Karnataka. These are the places. You go to Australia, here you'll also find Kalgoorlie, Coolgardie करके कुछ places होता है, वहाँ पे भी मिल जाता है, और Mount Bruce, Goldsworthy, these are the places, right? So China, Manchuria region and Shandong region, these are the two areas where you will get. Russia, Ural mountains में मिलता है ये, right? Okay. These are some of the major areas that you need to know. Where is the iron present? Or iron ore production across the globe, देखो. Across the globe, you'll come across the three major countries, that is your ABC countries. One is Brazil. Brazil में, it is in the southeastern part of the Brazil. Come to Australia, in the Australia eastern side, and in China, the eastern side. Majority of the coal is always on the ईस्टर्न मार्जिन्स, ताकि आप मैप जब बनाते हो ना आसान से याद रहता है. एक छोटा सा टेक्निक होता है, दिस इज अ स्मॉल टेक्निक वेयर यू कैन रिमेंबर दैट योर आयरन्स आर प्रेजेंट ऑन द ईस्टर्न साइड्स. लुक, मेजॉरिटी इन द एशिया ऑल्सो. हियर दिस इज योर छोटानागपुर प्लेट्यू, राइट? एंड गो टू यूएसए, हियर ऑल्सो ऑन द ईस्टर्न साइड. तो मैप बनाना काफी आसान है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ आई एम मेकिंग ए मैप हियर, आई कैन ड्रॉ द मैप लाइक दिस, एंड you also have to learn to draw the world map. So you have to learn to draw this world map. How to draw it? It is just take some transparent sheets, and in the transparent sheets, what you are supposed to do is you are supposed to use the transparent sheets and then try to draw as many times as possible. You have to draw as many times as possible the map, right? So this is how you will be learning to draw the world map. And then this is your Europe, India. Just it should be representative in nature. The world map should be representative in nature, right? This is India and this is your Australia. ठीक है? This is your Australia. So you are supposed to learn to draw in less than 10 seconds, right? Transparent sheets होता है. This transparent sheets दिखता कैसा है? You just drop a message to me. I'll share an image of the transparent sheet to you whenever you're watching this lecture, so that you will get to know the how to learn. You just need to open your atlas, find the smallest map, and put the transparent sheet and map it. So this is how you are going to learn. Now, where are iron ores present? One here on the eastern side, here also on the eastern side, here also, here, China also. That means this, isn't it very easy? This is Russia, Ural mountains. This is how you are supposed to draw the major iron ore. Now Africa देखो, Africa में very limited, only in South Africa you are going to get to see the iron, right? And especially in the Europe, Germany and Western Europe. This is one way where you can represent the world map, right? So this is the distribution of iron that you are going to see, right? Now when it comes to India, where do you find this India? India में जो iron ore होता है ना, it is present in few states only, and wherever you get iron, in these are the same states where you also get the bauxite, right? I said minerals are found in mainly in Jharkhand. There is a Chotanagpur area. Chotanagpur area is nothing but a collection of few geographical region, that is states होता है, the boundaries of the boundaries of the West Bengal, as well as Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh. These are the areas. So same places you will also find the bauxite as well, right? Right? These are the main places. Clear? This is what you need to know about iron. Now come to your chapter. See here, they also talk about manganese. So other minerals are also there. These minerals, you need to have a brief idea on it, right? You need to have a brief idea on these particular minerals. So let's quickly look into the brief idea. Let's see. There is also another mineral. For this, you need to understand what are the different types of ores. Look at manganese. Manganese is also present in the form of ore, right? See, manganese is very well used in the steel. You see, almost 6 kg of manganese is used for making 1 ton of steel. That means 100 kgs में 6 kg manganese use किया जाता है in the steel making. It is called as an alloy. Alloy मतलब एक प्रोडक्ट के साथ दूसरा प्रोडक्ट जब मिलावट होता है, टू मेक इट लिटिल मोर स्ट्रेंथेंड, for iron you add manganese, it will become an alloy, and this alloy will become more stronger, right? So manganese is used as an alloy. That means for every 100 kgs of iron you add 6 kg of manganese, this will become an alloy, and that is your steel. Steel is an alloy of iron, right? This is how the manganese is used, right? It is helping to use or strengthen the iron. It is also used in alloying the nickel. Bronze के साथ भी alloy हो जाता है, right? So जो प्रोडक्ट है उस प्रोडक्ट का स्ट्रेंथ बढ़ाने के लिए मैंगनीज इस्तेमाल किया जाता है. दैट मीन्स एनी प्रोडक्ट स्ट्रेंथ इफ यू वांटेड टू इंक्रीज, मैंगनीज विल बी यूज्ड. दिस इज समथिंग विच यू नीड टू नो. It is used as to produce an alloy with copper also. Look here, with copper, bronze and nickel. These three things, right? Pesticide, insecticide की तरह भी इस्तेमाल किया जाता है. And here for every mineral that you come across in the NCERTs, what you are supposed to do is you need to know the uses, and you also need to know which country produces the most. Here in this context, it is South Africa. South Africa is the top largest producer, followed by Australia and China. See, Australia and China, most of the times ABC countries जो है ना, they are always top in many of the minerals. अगर आपको पता भी नहीं है, except exceptional cases होता है ना, वो छोड़ दो, बाकी in general you can write these are one of the top countries. Look here also, Australia, China, Brazil, top 5 में तो होगा ही ये सब countries, because they are naturally present in these areas, except for few such as lithium is there, and likewise mica is there. These are some of the areas that may not be there, but rest of the minerals, these three are always there, right? These are some things that are given in your notes, right? NCERTs, clear? Okay. Likewise, the cotton textiles के बारे में भी दिया था. Here you need to know where are they grown. See, cotton textiles, India is a very famous country. I'll discuss this in the industries, but now come to your next major chapter, and within this chapter you will also come across the availability of industries. ठीक है, availability of industries and resources, how the resources are classified. See, this chapter also talks in little more detail about the sources of energy, that is conventional source of energy and non-conventional sources of energy, right? The conventional sources of energy and non-conventional sources of energy is something which you need to know in this, right? So let's quickly go and look into the conventional sources and non-conventional sources. It's just that this is one diagram that will help you to understand the entire sources of energy in terms of conventional and non-conventional sources. Look here. Firstly, the conventional sources of energy are those which we have been used since thousands of years, which are considered to be fossil fuels as well. Conventional sources of energy are also called as the fossil fuels, which we have been using it since years. For example, oil is there. Oil is a conventional source of energy. Likewise, you also have firewood, lakkad, natural gas, coal, hydropower. Now in this is also a fossil fuel, right? This is also a fossil fuel. Once burnt, it will not come back. This is also a fossil fuel. This is also a fossil fuel. Now my question here is hydropower a fossil fuel? No, this is not a fossil fuel. But still, why are you putting it in the form of conventional source of energy? Conventional sources of energy means that we have been using it since many years, since age-old time periods. We are aware of the hydropower energy, that is hydropower, river, water, dam construction, and then generating the electricity. Sometimes examiner might ask you, all the conventional sources of energy are fossil fuels? You should say no. In this, hydropower is also a conventional source of energy, right? All the fossil fuels are not conventional sources of energy. Hydropower is also a example. But every fossil fuel has its own advantage and disadvantages. Likewise, every fuel has its own advantages and disadvantages. For example, if you take fossil fuels, the fundamental problem is they add carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and they deplete the oxygen, right? They add carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and depletes the oxygen. Pollution is released into the atmosphere, right? Carbon emissions are increasing, climate is going to get changed. In सब के लिए common points लिख सकते हो. If suppose wood is there, wood vegetation is cut down, and once the vegetation is cut down for the purpose of firewood, you are also going to kill the animals in that part of the area. For example, the Indonesian region, Bali, Indonesia, what they have done is they started to cut down the forest and they started to grow the palm oil. So as palm oil fields have increased, the chimpanzees that are present in that part of the area, monkeys that have been present, they started to come into their homes. And once the palm oil trees are dead, they used to cut down the forest and they use it. Over a period of time, the animals lost their lives, their habitat. So this is one of the fundamental entity, that is collection time, pollution, promotion of greenhouse gases. The common problems are these. Disadvantages of these are always same, right? Hydropower का advantage क्या है ना? It is considered to be a non-polluting, promotes irrigation and fishing. It is cheaper as compared to other ones. But disadvantages are, for every hydropower you need to create a dam, and dam will displace lot of people, right? That is the disadvantage of the hydropower. But rest, hydropower is always a positive entity. Anyone who you are displacing, what you are supposed to do is implement the land acquisition, rehabilitation and resettlement in a good manner, right? Now come to the next component, that is your non-conventional sources of energy. Usually these non-conventional sources of energy are considered to be clean energy. Usually I am talking about, these are your solar, wind, nuclear power, wind energy, tidal energy and biogas. These are some of the examples. Number 1, wind energy, solar energy, tidal energy, nuclear energy, biogas, and the last one is geothermal. Geothermal means जहाँ पे volcanoes होता है, the heat of the volcano is trapped, and that is called as the geothermal, right? The heat of the interior of the earth is trapped, and that heat, if you are utilizing, that is called as geothermal. In a nutshell, these are the major energies. Every energy has its own advantage and disadvantage. For example, wind, it gives you a continuous flow, but disadvantages is that it creates noise pollution, and birds, they can come and strike, right? Aeroplanes, aviation industry, helicopters के लिए थोड़ा दिक्कत हो सकता है. Likewise, solar energy is there, but this is not a continuous energy in the tropical areas, but in the polar areas it is available, but you cannot tap it. At one or the other given point on the earth, sunlight is always there, but the sunlight is available mostly in the tropical areas, and that too, this energy is expensive. It is expensive, right? It is very expensive. For this you need to store the energy in the batteries. Lithium is required to that. Okay, so what is clean sometimes may not be completely clean. Biogas and geothermal, these are the energies that you are supposed to know, right? Now come to the next component, that is your major chapters. Here you are supposed to deal with is, just a minute, that is agriculture and industries. So in the agriculture and industries, you are supposed to learn few fundamentals, such as, let me quickly show you the different types of agricultures and farmers you are supposed to know. What are the different types of farmings that you need to know? What is agriculture? See, the agricultural chapter likes to tell you some fundamentals. Fundamentals are, number 1, what do you mean by agriculture? What do you mean by sericulture, pisciculture, viticulture, and lastly horticulture? So all these fundamentals which are there, you are supposed to understand in a detailed manner. Let us quickly try to deal with this. See here. Firstly, culture means a way of life. right? Agriculture, it's a way of life. Sericulture, it's a way of life. That means agriculture, you are going to deal with crops. Here, agri is the art of crops. The life that you are going to deal with by cultivating the crops, and the lifestyle that you gain with that. The cultures, the fooding, bedding, eating habits. Come to sericulture. Here, silkworms, if you are using it, that is what is called sericulture. When it comes to pisciculture, which is nothing but fish, fish is your pisciculture. When it comes to viti, it is grapes. Okay? Grapes, that is wine, production of wine. Likewise, horti, it comes to fruits and vegetables, right? Firstly, it tries to classify what are the different types of agriculture. Then this particular chapter also tries to tell you what are the different types of farming. Farming can be done in how many different ways? See, there are different types of farmings, but for each of the farming, there are certain steps that you need to follow. What are these steps? You need some inputs, you need to process that crop, and then you need to take some output, right? These are called as input factors, processing factors, and output factors. What are the input factors? These input factors, in a stepped manner, if I have to tell you, it will be of this sort. See, you tell me what are the input factors in this, what are the processing factors and output factors. For example, let's say you wanted to grow agriculture in this farmland. For this farmland, for this you have to select a crop, which crop you wanted to grow. This crop can be your rice, or it can be a sugar cane, right? Or it can be wheat, or it can be horticulture's vegetables, or whatever, right? First of all, you have to select crop selection. Then you need to till the land, right? This is called as land preparation. Then you need to sow the seed. Let's imagine you started to sow the seed here. Every agricultural process has this, that is, you're growing seeds. These seeds, you need to, over a period of time, you need to give manure. Now these manures will start to grow, right? Seedling and then manuring. After that, you need to give water. This water is called as irrigation. It is also called as irrigation. Now post irrigation, you need to go for fertilizing. You have to spray. You do not let the other species to come and eat. You fertilize it, you pesticide it, right? Once later you got the crop and you wanted to harvest it. For this harvesting, you need the men and machinery, right? You need men and machinery. So harvesting, so then you wanted to take this to the place where you wanted to sell, that is your APPSC mandis, right? So you wanted to thrash and then you storage. Sometimes APPSC mandis itself is the buying and selling storage facilities and all. This is what is there. That means for every crop that is present, or every agricultural process every agricultural crop has to go through these processes. Can I say in the beginning, it is, you have to select the crop. Once you have selected the crop, you have to prepare the land. If you have prepared the land, then you have to go for seedling. After seedling, you have to give manure and water, that is irrigation. Irrigation के बाद you need to fertilize it. Fertilization के बाद then you have to harvest it and then take it to the APPSC mandi, store it. So these are nothing but agricultural input processes, input requirements, processing and output. In the input, you need machinery, you need seeds, you need land preparation, chemicals, fertilizers. Farmer has to invest on these aspects, right? A farmer has to invest on these aspects. These are called as inputs. Whereas processing includes the plowing, sowing, manuring, these aspects. Output includes the transportation, crop yield, buying and selling, also called as post-harvest, right? All of this are dependent on what? They are dependent upon fundamental factors such as sunlight, climate, rainfall, and also the disasters, rain and other input factors, temperature, soil quality hai, soil health kaisa hai, manure. So these are some of the aspects that you need to look into, right? So all this agriculture is dependent upon the factors. So let's see what are the factors that are influencing the agriculture. The factors that are influencing the agriculture can be of your climatic factors, your physical factors, and economic factors. See, physical factors can be your climate. Climatic factors can be rainfall, again thunderstorms, lightning, heavy drought-like situations. Soil ka quality is also physical factor. Topography of that region is also a physical factor. Come to the economic factors, that is market kaisa hai. You have grown a very good crop of tomato, but it is given only for 2 rupees kg. How is it going to be dealt? Likewise, transport facilities will be very limited. Sugarcane needs good transportation. Next, you need capital. So, capital, a good amount of investment is required for few crops. That is also an economic factor. And insurances also you need to take. Likewise, other factors are basic methods of farming. कौन सा method of farming है? कौन सा tenure of the land system hai, which land system are you following? For all of this, if you look into the methods of farming, the farming methods can be broadly classified into subsistence farming and commercial farming. I'll step aside. So subsistence farming, it is intensive subsistence farming and primitive farming. Within the primitive farming, you can go for shifting cultivation or you can go for nomadic herding. When you come to the commercial farming, it can be extensive farming, mixed farming, and plantation agriculture. I definitely know that many of you who have lived in the cities, ये सब सुनना तो होगा, but कभी देखा नहीं होगा, right? Have you been such a kind of a person? Let me know it. You can also drop me a message from which place you are and also which year you would like to give your attempt as well. Okay, now come to the fundamental factors of how many different types of farming you can do. See, here there are many types. Subsistence farming भी कर सकते हो आप, shifting cultivation भी कर सकते हो, commercial farming भी कर सकते हो, extensive cultivation, extensive farming in US, Canada, plowing, drones के साथ agriculture भी कर सकते हो. Right? Intensive subsistence farming, wetland farming, dryland farming, mixed farming. There are many different types of farmings. All you need to know is in your books what is it given, but I am going beyond the books and I wanted to give you this particular knowledge to you. Number one, see, look here. This is called as nomadic herding. This is called as nomadic herding. People move from one place to another place, right, using their sheep and then they cultivate. This is an example of nomadic herding. Likewise, these are your nomads, nomadic herding, right? Sheeps, they collect the wool and then they sell the wool, right? They don't stay at one single place. In India also you have a nomadic herding crops or nomadic herding community, that is Gaddis, Bakarwals in Himalayas, right? Gaddis and Bakarwals. Gujars to Gujars, no, Gujars not. अरे नहीं नहीं, Gujars नहीं है. Gujars are the ones who deal with the cattle, milk, right? Bakarwals and Gaddis are there. Yes, that's Bakarwals and Gaddis only. Next is livestock ranching. Livestock ranching matlab rearing of cows. This is your livestock ranching, right? Rearing of cows. These days it is rearing of pigs also, right? Come to shifting cultivation. Shifting cultivation means you cultivate on a particular land. After that, you slash it, you burn it, and then you go to a different place. See, you cultivate in this area. For that, you slash and burn in the sense you fire the forest area, you open that forest and you grow this particular area for 1 or 2 years. After that, when you feel that there is no soil fertility in this crop, you'll shift to a different place and again you will cut down, right? So in the similar manner, you're going to move from one place to another place. Look here, what are you going to do? First, you select the land, you burn it. Then you are using this land for growing of the crops. After that, your crops are grown and the next year you will choose a different area. So shifting cultivation is usually done by tribal communities. Even today, there are few tribal communities who does this, and in which this particular cultivation is famous across the globe, but they have different names that are there. For example, if you are doing it in India, you will also call it as jhum cultivation. It is also there in the countries of the northeastern India, that is called as jhumming or bivar. If you are doing it in Malaysia, it is called as ladang. If you are doing it in Philippines, it is called as chengin. Milpa in Mexico, Conuco in Venezuela, Roca in Brazil, Masol in Congo, Ray in Vietnam, Huma in Indonesia, and Tongya in Myanmar, and Chen in Sri Lanka, right? So whenever I step aside from the camera or else from the screen, it's an indication that I want you to look onto the board in complete detail, taki I don't come in between, right? If I'm standing here, many students cannot see it. So most of the students have requested in the online. So that's why either I step in between the screen so that you can see both the content, but still the best way is to I move out of the screen so you can get to see the content, right? Maybe you can pause. If it is not there in the NCERT, you can also write it, right? Okay. So this is what is your shifting cultivation. Now next is rudimentary tillage. Ye rudimentary tillage kya hai? Rudimentary tillage is someone who do not have tractors and other entities. What do? They go for this kind of cultivation. The rudimentary is irregular tillage will be done and then they grow the crops. Jitna crop mila utne mein kush hai, right? Most of the Indian farmers are this type of farmers in the 1990s to 2000, but now the LPG reforms have come and later on many farmers, even the small scale farmers who are there, marginal farmers are also, they are using tractors. Only few farmers in India are still going for this rudimentary tillage. This is also a type of agriculture. Now come to the intensive subsistence agriculture. See, this intensive subsistence agriculture is usually seen in the coastal areas of India and in the areas where the land is plain area and they wanted to extract the maximum crop from the available land. So this is called as intensive subsistence agriculture, in which you use a piece of land and you wanted to extract the maximum crop from that. And subsistence agriculture, in the beginning it was only whatever you were growing that you used to eat it for your own family needs and other purposes. But later intensive subsistence agriculture, you wanted to extract more, and whatever the crop that is left after your utilization of the crop for your family, you sell it, right? Most of the South India does it, most of the North India does it, right? Half of India does it, right? Next is, this is intensive subsistence agriculture, commercial plantation. See, commercial plantations are nothing but your coffee, tea, rubber. These are called as commercial plantations. Plantations are generally those crops, once you put the crop, after 1 or 2 years also it will give you the yield, right? Those are called as plantations. Like tea, coffee, rubber, you grow the tree or you grow the plant and it will give you yields for 1 or 2 or 3 years. Now, how are cash crops different from commercial cultivations? Cash crops are different because these cash crops, what do? Is cotton, you do not eat it, you grow the crop, you get that crop in 4 months, but still you take it to the market and you sell it. That is called as cotton cultivation or cash crop cultivation. Now come to this next type of agriculture, that is Mediterranean agriculture. This agriculture is generally seen in the Mediterranean type of climate, जहाँ पर Mediterranean region होता है, right? Mediterranean type of climate on the west coast of the mid latitudes. See, west coast of the mid latitudes, west coast of the mid latitudes, west coast of the mid latitudes. जहाँ पे वेस्टर्लीज है वहां पे ये ग्रो किया जाता है. यहाँ पे अच्छा खासा ग्रेप्स, वेरी गुड ग्रेप्स आर ग्रोन, सो विटिकल्चर इज वेरी गुड हियर, राइट? Best wine is available from this particular place. The next is commercial grain farming. See, this commercial grain farming is nothing but you go for large scale cultivations. Step is grasslands जहाँ पर है वहां पे ये ग्रो किया जाता है अगर वाटर अवेलेबिलिटी है तो. If you have good water availability, you'll go for this, right? So this is the areas where you'll get to see wherever you find grasslands, you're going to grow this type. And this entire chapter of agriculture only talks about these kind of farmings and agricultures, right? Likewise, there is a different type of agriculture where you go for subsistence agriculture with livestock. This is your livestock with subsistence agriculture with livestock, right? The manure of the cows, it will be used in the same farm field. Again, intensive subsistence भी किया जाता है, right? Likewise, commercial livestock and cropping. Commercial livestock मतलब ये देखो, you grow sheep, you also grow cows, you use the dairy, and the wastage of the dung will be utilized in the other areas. You actually grow for the commercial purpose, not just for your family. You also grow it for others and sell it, and you gain out of it. That is called as commercial cropping, livestock cropping, along with the mixed farm. Mixed cropping is also nothing but mixed cropping means don't think that I'll take an area and in that I'm going to put 2 or 3 different types of crop, that will be mixed cropping. No. See, mixed farming means in terms of mixed farming. Sorry, just a small misunderstanding. I've used a wrong word here. Let me recorrect it. I've used the word mixed cropping. I'm correcting it. I'm really sorry. I've used the words interchangeably. Now let me correct it. Mixed farming is different from mixed cropping. Mixed cropping means you take a farm field and in this is X crop, then you use an other crop. This is the third type of crop. This is called as mixed cropping. Sometimes this is also called as intercropping, where you use 2 or 3 different types of crops. But when it comes to the mixed farming means you use cattle. Cattle is also there, right? You also have agricultural land. You also go for commercial cultivation. That means you are using cattle and their available products for the development of the land. At the same time, the output of the product which you got from the dairy, you sell outside. This is called as mixed farming, where animals and sometimes you also grow fishes in it. That is what is your mixed farming, right? This is what you need to know, right? I'm sorry that I've used the word for mixed cropping and mixed farming as same. They are 2 different entities. And lastly, it is you need to know about the horticulture. So this is your horticulture. Horticulture means where you grow vegetables and crops, and in a controlled environments you will grow, right? These are called as poly houses. In the poly houses, to reduce the temperature and regulate the temperature, here you grow this type of farming, right? In India, horticulture is also growing over a period of time. Now this is what you need to know about the chapters of agriculture in a detailed manner, right? Beyond this, there is nothing in this chapter. It's just a basic idea that you need to have over the agriculture, right? Okay. Now come to the next component, that is your population, right? Population is one concept that is present. Now let me show you what exactly is this particular chapter. See, it talks about population composition. It gives you certain definitions, and then it also talks about few other components such as what is an expanding population, what is a stationary population, and how this population is growing over a period of time. This is what you need to know in this particular chapter. Next, there is another chapter by the name world population. In this also a similar kind of entities you will come across, right? That is what is positive growth, what is negative growth, right? Social change kya hota hai. These are some fundamental entities that are given in this particular chapter. Now let's quickly go and try to understand about the chapters. Just give me a minute. Our board is little misbehaving with us. Let's wait for the board to react well. Okay, just a minute. Just give me a minute. Let us try to understand what exactly this population chapter is. And human development is also there in this particular theme. Don't worry, human development repeated theme hai. We'll also look about the human development in the further topics as well, right? Now come back. See here. One thing. First thing, population. in this particular entity, I wanted to tell you where is the world population located. You need to know. First thing, what are the factors that are influencing the distribution of the population? This is what you need to know. Okay? Factors that are influencing the distribution of the world population. That is your relief. Relief means topography. If mountains are there, the population will be less. If the plains are there, the population will be more. If the availability of water is good, the concentration of population will be more. Accessibility of food, fodder is there, the population will be more. Likewise, adequate water supply, soil, economic accessibility, political stability. People do not like to live in the Middle East if there is political instability. Rather, if you have a political stability and a strong economy with good food, then only people will start to live in those areas. So based on these factors, that is economic, social, political, topographic, geographical, climatic, सारे factors अगर आप देखा जाए, whatever you have learned in the last few themes, you apply this here. The entire world is divided into areas with those which are having intense population, high density population, areas with low density population. Now broadly, when you look into this particular diagram, you will come across that the population is largely confined to the tropics. The highest population is present in the tropics. What is this tropics? This is the area of the tropics. Just give me a minute. See, this is the area where you will see the large chunk of population is, right? So see here, this is where you'll come across the density is high. Just a minute. Just give me a minute. Okay. Yes. See here. Large chunk of population is always confined to the tropical area, right? Why? Because topography, accessibility, adequate supply of water, soil, and more often it is sunlight. That's why you have good chunk of population which is located in this particular area, right? So along with this, you also need to know few definitions, especially the density of the population. Why is this density of population so high in this area? Firstly, you need to know the definition of density to understand this. The density of definition is, in general terms, it is you take a geographical area, and in this geographical area, how many people are living in this geographical area. When you take this into consideration, you think that this is density. But this general density, you should not look with a very parochial view. Rather, density alone will not give you the status of a country. Rather, the new methodologies are physiological or nutritional density of a particular region also should be taken into an account, right? The new methods of calculations of density is the old density of population method which is there. It is used to take into account only the total area and the total number of people. But the new methodologies of calculation of density other than the traditional density is one. It is your physiological density and nutritional density. These two components also you need to look into. These two components, why do we have to take into? It is because when you take physiological and nutritional value, it takes into account the area, the total people living in that, and also the natural resources available, and how much food is available for one person and how much food is available for per square kilometer. So look here, the physiological or nutritional density is the ratio between the population and the total cropped area. That means imagine this particular area we can grow 100 kgs of rice, and what is the population? Imagine there are 20 people. So it is a ratio between people and the crop. So here this particular ratio is used in the modern times to say whether this density of population which is located in this area, is it a good density or a bad density. For example, an area which can grow only 100 kgs but there are more than 150 people, that density of the population is more, but still that is considered to be a bad density. For example, India is there. India is a location where highest density of population is there in India, because our area is small but our population is also very good. But India's density is considered to be a decently on the good side. Why? Because our per square kilometer area of food, when you take into nutritional quality you take into, it is more high as compared to other countries. See, the total arable land in the world is 13.3%. You take the entire world, only 13.3% of the total area can be cultivated or cropped. But when you come to India, India is entirely different. The total percentage of the arable land in India is 48%. That means almost 50% of the total area can be cultivated or arable. That means you can cultivate in India. So this is the gift that India has, right? Come to, and the nutritional density of the world is 325 square kilometers. It is 325 per square kilometer of land. But when you come to India, the nutritional value is 753 per square kilometer. 753 per square kilometer. This is very high. The nutritional value in India is high. But go to Singapore. The Singapore nutritional value is less than, almost, if you take, it is less than, see, just a minute, the Singapore's nutritional value, it is 440998 per square kilometers. The Singapore land if you take, the land is very small, but how are they able to cultivate in a very small area a large quantity of per square kilometer of nutrition? In India, we are gifted with 48.3% of India is arable. Arable means cultivable. But out of this, nutritional density is 753 per square kilometer. But look at Singapore. Singapore area is only less than the size of Delhi. Here, the nutritional density of population of 440998 per square kilometer. How are they able to generate it? Right? This is sometimes you should always question it. Now, what is a good density of population? What is a bad density of population? You go to Pakistan or you go to Middle East. This nutritional value is not just 48. This nutritional value is not just 753. It is only 100. 100 is the nutritional value. Right? In some areas of Africa, it is only 70, 60, 50. How come a country which is only so small is able to create such large per square kilometers of nutritional value? It is because it is not just about the density of the population, it is also now the technology, right? It is the technology also we need to take into account, right? Okay. And see, here you need to know certain definitions itself in this particular chapter. In the further time period, I will be talking about in more detail about the further aspects. Look, where is the world population present? Majority of the world population is present across the coastal areas. Look at these diagrams. It will give you an idea that majority of the population is present in the coastal areas, right? You see, this is US, and come to India. Where is the major chunk of the population present? This population is present in the Ganga belt. And here this is your Godavari belt, right? And this is Kaveri belt. Likewise, this is your Indus. This is where the major chunk of the population is present. and in other areas also, wherever you have a river, the chunk of population is very, very high, right? Okay. Come to the next component. Even you see the Europe or any other state, most of the population is living across the coastal areas. But you need to know few other terms that are associated with the population and how the population is growing over a period of time. See, the highest population is currently now in India, and next is China. We have outbid China, and India is the leading population, right? Look at the trend in the growth of the population. It is in 1974, the world population is only 4 billion, right? When it comes to 1999, it is 6 billion. By the 2050, it is estimated that the world population is going to be 9.7 billion. As of now, 2047 के लिए estimation जो है ना 9.5. 2012 में 7 billion था. That means every 2 decades almost we are doubling the population by now. So by this 2050, our resources will be exhausted, our minerals will be exhausted, our natural resources do not have the capacity to service itself, and the chances of climate change can also hit very hard in this time period. That's why we need to go for clean and green, and the projection is very high. It is by 2100 it is going to be 11.2 or 11.3 billion, but here we'll confine ourselves to few definitions which are given in these chapters. In the further population themes, I'm going to deal this in a very detailed manner. First, you need to learn the definitions. That is, first thing, population means a similar group of species. For example, if I have a dog, and if I have a man, and if I have a tiger, if I ask you what is the population, you'll say 1 dog, 1 man, and 1 tiger, right? If I have 20 human beings, what is the population? You'll say 20, right? Population is always considered with respect to single species. Population is a group of individuals of the same species. This is what you need to learn. A group of population which are of same species, right? You cannot mix a dog with a human and say that yeah, 20 dogs at 10 people hai, so the population is 30. No. You are going to calculate population with respect to same species. Either you calculate the population of dogs, that is 20, or you calculate this population of your human, that is your 10, like that. Come to people, the members of a particular nation, community or ethnic group, this is called as people. Likewise, crude birth rate क्या होता है? Number of living live births, number of live births per 1000 people in a year. This is called as crude birth, right? Number of live births per 1000 people in a year, right? What is live births and what is stillbirth? Stillbirth matlab when a child is born, already the child has lost his or her life. That is called as stillbirth. Live birth means the child is alive after the birth is given by the mother. Crude death rate means number of deaths per 1000 people in a year. For every 1000 people, how many deaths are taking place? Net migration rate क्या होता है? Net migration rate, here you will take n is equal to 100 into I minus E by P. What is I minus E by P? It is simple. I matlab number of people immigrating into the country. That means, let's say this is your India, and in this India, right, number of people coming to the country plus I minus E, that is number of people emigrating out of the country, and how many people are moving out of the country, divided by the estimated mid-year population. Mid-year means maybe the total population you have calculated and you take an average of it. Every month you calculate and you take an average of it. That is called as the mid-year population. This is called as the net migration rate. That means how many people are coming, how many people are going, and you calculate the population on an average. That is called as the mid-year. So if you put it into, this is your population formula. Now come to the fertility rate. Fertility rate is the number of live births expected per 1000 women in the lifetime, right? In their lifetime in a specified geographic area, right? It is the number of live births expected per 1000 women in their lifetime. This is called as fertility rate. See, as of now, the fertility rate is dropping down. The fertility rate of 2.1 is the target of India. See, the highest fertility rate you will find in the Africa, Niger. Niger is having the highest fertility rate, that is 6.49, right? Every woman can bear 6.49 births. This is what it means in her lifetime, right? For 6.49, whereas you take Singapore, it is only 0.83, right? It is the number of live births expected per 1,000 women in their lifetimes in a specified geographical area. That is what is your fertility rate. Likewise, you have other definitions as well. That is your dependency ratio. क्या होता है? Dependency ratio is number of dependents in a population divided by the number of working age people, right? In your family, if there are 5 people who are dependent and only 2 people are working, it is the ratio that you are going to take between people who are working and people who are dependent on that. In India, the dependency ratio is very high, but you go to Europe, the dependency ratio is comparatively less, right? Even there are people who are older, they are still not considered to be dependent because they are earning their revenue through not the services but through manufacturing facilities. They have set up some manufacturing facility, the product is always manufactured, that is being sold to some other country, so they get their incomes. In India, the dependency ratio is high. Now come to growth rate. What is growth rate? Crude birth rate minus crude death rate and plus net migration rate you take, that is called as growth rate, right? Next, South Sudan has the highest population growth rate of 3.83. It is growing at a very faster rate, right? Rate of natural increase. These are very basic formulas. Naturally, kitna population increase ho raha hai? That means how many people are dead, how many people are living, and how many new births are taking place, right? That is how many people are dying and how many people are born. That is called as natural rate of natural increase, right? Likewise, you also have adult literacy rate and life expectancy rate. See, adult literacy rate, the definition is little critical, little tricky. Let me try to read this so that you will have an idea. One, the adult literacy rate index is a statistical measure used to determine how many adults can read and write in a certain area. Adult literacy is one of the factors in measuring the human development index of each nation, among which the life expectancy, education and standard of living are taken into account. So this human development index we'll discuss in the further classes, so don't worry, I'll be discussing in detail here. In simple terms, adult literacy rate is simply how many people can read and write. Usually the literacy rate is a person who is 8+ years who can read and write is called as a literate. Now adult literate is nothing but anyone who is more than 18 years who can read and write, that is called as adult literacy rate. Lastly, life expectancy, that is when a person is born in your country, it is how many years it is that this person is going to live. In a developed countries, it is up to 75. In a developed country, it is more than 70. In India, it is somewhere around 64 or 65 years. This is what is the life expectancy which you currently have, right? Monaco has 89.5. If you're born in Monaco, the quality of life that you're going to have, it is a better quality. So for that, it is 89. But if you're born in the Chad, Niger, it is 49.81 because quality of life is not up to the mark. That means to say that there the water quality is not good. Now, there are some population charts. This also you need to understand. What do you mean by this population charts? See, population charts tells us which country has growing population, which country has expanding population or stationary population. There is a method to look into these charts. See, these charts look like a pyramid. You need to understand how the pyramids are there here. See, this is called as a stationary age or sex pyramid. Look at this particular pyramid. It is a growing population, that is called as expensive age or sex pyramid, which is called as growing population. Yahan pe the base, if the base which is there, look here, this is the base. If the base is wider, it is an indication that the population is going to grow. Now come to constructive age sex pyramid. This is United States, and let's try to learn these pyramids. First, let's look here. Let's look into the Bangladesh, that is 2016. This is the pyramid. This pyramid on the left, this is blue color component, these are males, and the red color component, these are your females. Let's say this is your females, right? Now, male and female population, and here this is the population of 5 to 9, 10 to 14. That means these are the male population who are aged between 10 to 14, and these are the female population which are aged between 10 to 14. Right? So this is how the pyramids are drawn. First, suppose an expands population is expanding population, or else a population which is going to grow in the future. Their base will be like this. The child population, children population, that is up to 10 to 14 years who is there, or up till 20 to 25, can you see the base of this population is more? Right? In this, the fertile population is someone who can give birth. That is, these are the ones who can give birth immediately. These are the ones who can give birth immediately. So today the population which can give birth is more. Can I say in this part of the area, this particular population is comparatively more as compared to the population here, middle age population or the old age population. This population is less and this population is more. That means they can produce more, right? New population is added, so this population will be added to the kids. And see, after 20 years or 15 years, can I say that this particular population which is young kids, these kids who are there, this particular pyramid will shift up after 20 years. All these people will be moving here, right? So if the base is wider, they can produce more number of population and the population can grow, right? A pyramid which is having a wider base is the one, and the narrow top, as it grows, as it increases, if there is a narrow top, this is called as an expanding population, right? Likewise, let's look into the next pyramid. This is called stationary. Stationary means, can you see the middle-aged population, the young population? Here the young population is less and the middle-aged population is more, and more or less all the age groups are having similar kind of population. Yes, see, look at this 45 to 60 years population. After 20 years they'll say tata bye bye to their lives, most of them, right? So they will shift into this category. But look at this, the population is more or less stationary in the lower strata. So these populations will shift up, and you have to look into the area where the production can be done. The population production is done by this particular age category. Matlab, these are the ones who are now educated in a developed country. They are not going for not more than 2 children or sometimes 1 children, 1 or none, or else only 2. That means the population can only be replace them. That means if 2 male and female, or a father and mother, if they are going for 2 children, that means hum do hamara do, the population will be the same. And they do not go in the developed countries, they do not go for more than 2. This is the general tendency. Late marriages, health issues, other factors are also there, development of women. So all these parameters have added that they are going to replace the population. That means the same population is going to be there. So as and when this population starts to grow, the population will be the same. So this is called as stationary population, in which the middle age group population will be more and the lower age population is less and the old age population is also less. This is called as stationary. When it comes to the next constructive age in the sense, more or less the base is same. Constructive age pyramid, that is United States, here the base is same. So this base is nothing but the population is steady. Here the population is steady. Let's say the old age population is less and they are dependent on the young age population. So this young age population is sufficient enough to take care of the old, and the population is in a replaceable manner in the sense that is replacing population. Here whatever the population who can bear the child, are equal to the total children population. If this is there, this is called as constructive age, right? So in totality, here you need to look into the child population is more or less equal to the child bearing age population. So after 20 years, this particular child population will be reaching here, फिर भी the population will be the same. Likewise, there is a stable population that they have created. The stable population is called as constructive age. Means their population is going to be more or less stable. ये ज़्यादा increase नहीं होगा. लेकिन look at Bangladesh. Look here, these children, they are going to grow in Bangladesh 10 to 14 years, 10 to 30 years population is there. In the next 10 to 15 years, they are going to increase the population. And these people will shift a little onto the upper regions, right? Onto the upper age group, and the new population will be added. So they are going to grow. In the future, the Bangladesh population will be like this. Their base is also wider. The old age population will also be wider. Then they will have a population pyramid of like this. And in the further, if they are not going to reduce their population, their base is wider, right? This middle-aged population, they'll reach higher like this. And they'll have the population pyramid like this, right? And these are youth population. These are your youth. If you're tapping the youth potential, then you can balance the population well and take the growth to the next level. India currently has the youth population more. The population of youth is more than the population of the children. So what we have to use is, you have to generate jobs and then give the potential to the youth that they can generate the economy, so that when they turn older, they need not be the dependence on the young generation whose population can be little less. That means today we are in a position where there are 3 youth people between 15 to 40 years or 15 to 29 years. 3 people will be there, 2 dependents in the maybe in the form of a kids, and 2 dependents in the form of old age, that is your grandparents or parents. So in India currently the youth population is more. You have to create jobs and create the revenue out of it. So this population pyramids will tell us the future of our population changing dynamics. Now this is what you are supposed to know. In the further topics, when I talk about Indian geography, I'll be discussing about what is demographic transition theory in a detailed manner. Now this is what you are supposed to know about today's topics, and in the further themes I'll be discussing in a detailed manner about the other upcoming themes of resource and development. Thank you, and I shall be seeing you in the next theme. And if you do have any doubts, you can also get in touch with me. Thank you and see you.